As the war of northern aggression waged on, the troop morale was at an all-time low. The smell of blood and gunpowder almost choked the lungs, but the thickest scent in the air was despair. Entertainment was sparse, but every so often a sound of laughter could be heard above the din of moans and cries. Georgia Daily Constitutionalist, 1864.
In the last hours of the Confederacy, despair was at its apex, and as you can imagine, people were not in the mood for humor. Enter Thaddeus Mongoose Cornwell. Mongoose was a private from Georgia's 6th Regiment and was known as a cut-up. He would tell stories that were considered funny at the time about mixed-race relations, how white planters and black planters plowed fields differently, and normally he boosted morale. But in late 1864, it just wasn't working. But then we look at Mongoose's diary, and it appears that as his act was not getting the response he expected, he said words that would reshape comedy for the next century and a half. He said to the audience of his fellow soldiers, "Support the troops." He got a standing ovation for the next 3 minutes. He died the next day from an infected paper cut.
Crowd work has been a staple of stand-up comedy for many, many decades, starting with Thaddeus Cornwell during the Civil War, and then from comedians like Don Rickles to D.L. Hughley to even today Todd Barry. Crowd work is like an art form within the art form of stand-up comedy. And in the modern era, no other comedian has advanced crowd work more than Thundercrack Malcolm.
Yeah. I can work a crowd. I can work a crowd, man. Material in the clubs I was coming up with wasn't all that important, so I had to improvise, you know. But it wasn't like that Who's Hanson Anyway crap. Yeah, that shit ain't funny.
So there's this dope fiend in my building, and she's got a big rump, but she got no money. So I told her, if you want the dope, you gotta give me something.
Thundercrack, used to working very crass rooms early in his career, was not ready for the crowd at Buster's, an upscale 1950s Harlem nightclub. But with 3 simple words,
Ladies looking good.
he would elevate crowd work to an effective tool in the growing art form of stand-up comedy.
Ladies looking good. Yeah, you ladies looking good. Look at you, you look good.
Ladies Looking Good was just the tip of the iceberg for the treasure trove of crowd work staples that Thundercrack would bring.
It's so rewarding but ironic at the same time that an art started by a Confederate soldier would be used and then heightened by an African American from the North. As the conservative 1950s gave way to the turbulent 1960s, Thundercrack's crowd work transformed with the times.
So I'm watching this motherfucking Nixon speak, right? And if there's one thing I know about the hood, is that you can never trust nobody named Trigger Dick. I could really use some weed right now. Where my weed smokers at? Where my weed smokers at? Yeah, where's my weed smokers?
See, when I started, it was about jokes and stories. You know, it's about the comedian and everything. But with the crowd work, then it became about them, the people. And I'm an entertainer, so I gave them what they wanted, you know. But was it good for comedy in the long run? I don't know. Now you be at shows and bitches be like, it's my birthday. Every goddamn 5 minutes. I be like, I don't care. I don't care.
Now, as Thundercrack's talent for crowd work became stronger, the pressure was also mounting on him to sort of incomprehensible heights. There was this kind of now infamous incident at Dark Chuckles in 1968. It was a renowned Chicago nightclub. And what happened there that night sort of illustrated both the pressure that Thundercrack was under, but also how incredible his talent for crowd work had become and how he could win back a crowd after what seemed like a disaster.
Thundercrack was wowing the crowd with tales of being harassed by his landlady and wanting to hit her. He then complimented the women in the crowd with his signature, "Ladies Looking Good." A woman, clearly inebriated, got on stage and tried to grab Thundercrack. With a quickness evoking his moniker, he struck the woman with a backhand that sent her sprawling. The crowd, shocked, had all the life sucked out of it. And then Thundercrack, in both his lowest and highest moment as a comedian, looked to the crowd and said, "Too soon?" The crowd erupted in applause and laughter, in both humor and genuine amazement at this off-the-cuff genius. Chicago Tribune, 1968.
The genius of Thundercrack Malcolm was undeniable, and his innovations in crowd work advanced the art. He even created the soul bounce when he worked white rooms. He would come out and say, "I must be in the wrong room." And the white crowds would give him even more applause than they would for white comics. But there was an unfortunate byproduct from his humor.
See, I did what I had to do in my time to get laughs. That's what I did. But now you see these comics out here on these stages, you're just pandering. And you're like, what are you doing? That ain't comedy.
You know I owe a lot to Thundercrack. I love coming out on stage and spending 5 to 6 minutes asking, where my Latinos at?
The mixed legacy of Thundercrack Malcolm persists to this day.
And your next comic is Josh Stein.
Hi, this is my first time doing this, so I hope I don't suck. So, anyone out there smoke weed? At Josh Stein.
All right, look, I know what I did. Got a lot of good, got a lot of bad. But if I'm on that stage, I see a fine-looking woman, I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna tell her.